Hi, I'm Daniel Fisher here at Sweetwater Sound, and today I'm going to show you some of the tricks I use to simulate harmonica. I've done it in a lot of my videos for various keyboards, and people have asked, how do you do that? And like the guitar one, if you haven't seen that one, there are definitely tricks, and if you learn the little tricks, you definitely will sound more like a harmonica. The first thing, of course, is getting the sound right. There are plenty of harmonica samples out there, but strangely, that rarely gets the job done unless you're trying to do a real clean toots kind of harmonica sound. But if you're going for like that R&B blues kind of harmonica sound, it's really all about the distortion. So to show you that, I'm going to use the Roland GAIA synthesizer. This synth has been around for a long time, and it's still being sold because it's a great synth for the price. And I made a bank of sounds for it. In fact, if you like this harmonica or any other sounds that you see on the GAIA video, we sell the thumb drive for it. So to make this sound, you basically work with pulse widths, which is a square wave, but where one end is much shorter than the other. So instead of 50% and 50%, it's maybe 10% up, 90% down, or 90% up, 10% down. And that sounds like this. You can hear it, it's kind of thin and anemic. And then I simply layered that and added a second one and detuned it and added a third one and detuned it. And that's really all I'm using is my sound source. If you listen, it is not a spectacular sound. Then you add effects, just some distortion. I did a little bit of chorus, a little bit of delay and reverb to give it some room, and wham. And the trick is your phrasing. So the very first rule of playing harmonica is you cannot bend upward, because harmonica players, they use this method of changing the airstream, and it forces the reed to act weird, and it slows it down, and the pitch goes down, and you know the sound, but it never bends up. You never hear, it doesn't do that. If you hear it go up, it's because they bent down and came up. Very different thing. So one of the things you can do to make your patch work better is you disable pitch bend up. So on this, it's shift, and you push that, and I touch up, and I make it 0. And now I can't bend upward, I can only bend down. And then another trick, if you want to get tricky, is you make the pitch bend down a minor third instead of a whole step, which is what it normally is. So again, I hit shift, I do that, I hold down, and instead of doing a second, I'll do a minor third, and that sounds like this. But you never go there, that's the key. The problem is, if you have it set to a second, like normal, that, when you get there, you're very clearly hitting a bottom. Whereas if you do a minor third, now you're never going to go down there, but if you do, you never hit exactly the same place, and that much closer simulates what's going on with the harmonica. The next thing to understand is that it only has certain notes available to it, and unlike the guitar one, you can actually fudge it once you get pretty good at doing it, and people aren't really going to call you out for playing notes you can't play on a harmonica, as long as you get the phrasing right. And so the way I usually start out when I'm making a harmonica sound is I do this E major chord, which is a B, E, G sharp, and I pivot on the E to the 4 chord, which is an A, and I'm doing that like this. And you just get this bounce. And so it's ga 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 ga. And there I'm just going to like the. It's just sort of, you got to think about your breathing into this thing, you know? And then the next is the bending. So now we've set up the bend right, so it's either going down in the standard whole step or minor third. I have a minor third here. It'll just help me be a little more realistic. And you just bend, and you can almost just sort of bend whenever you feel like it. And it's more about getting the acceleration, deceleration of the bend right. So it's, if that makes any sense. And as soon as you start doing it, you'll start going, oh wow, there's a Stones song or this song, and you start imitating that harmonica sound. And if I do a roll, it's often on a chord, a major chord. So like here's your E, and it's hard. Obviously it's very hard to get all of those at once, and so you kind of. And then I do this, and by the way, the pedal, I can do it on either, but pedals are just better for these kind of things because you can. But I can do it the other way as well. So you never want to use mod wheel to do your vibrato because it's very stiff and very even and predictable, and harmonica is very much not that. And so if you can do tremolo though, which is amplitude modulation, send an LFO to your amp, and you could do that either with the mod wheel. In this case, I do it with a D-beam. That actually works out pretty good. So putting it all together. So I'm doing a lot of rolls, and I'm trying to keep some of the notes overlapping each other. And what that does is it changes the amount of distortion, because if I'm playing single notes, clearly I have less distortion then. And so I'm kind of getting that crunch just occasionally by having notes leak over each other. So now some of the riffs that I do. So I've shown you the first riff already. That's kind of the bouncy. Another one that I do an awful lot are trilling on thirds. So you can. And you can just sit on a pair of thirds and then bend. Another one is, as I go up to a note, I bend right before I hit the note, so I'm already traveling in the bend. And then I do these things I call diddly-doos, which is kind of like, and I'll try and slow it down. And another one I stole from Jay Giles' band and the song Whammer Jammer is you just do a really high note and bend it. And then it's just really just about putting it all together. So now I'm just going to jam along with a little sequence I made. Here's a blues in G, and I'm coming into the external in of the Roland's, which just mixes straight back out to the output. So anyway, just a little idea. More than anything else, just keep doing it. Just turn on the radio, put on an album, and just jam along to everything you hear, and eventually we'll get it. If you have any questions about the Roland GAIA or other keyboards, please contact your Sweetwater sales engineer. If you like these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. My name is Daniel Fisher. Thank you very much for watching.